Hello everybody, welcome to another edition of the EOB podcast. So last weekend we had 3 movies that was released a week after Avengers Endgame. Let's see how those movies did at the box office. Alright, let's jump right into the box office. Coming in at number 1 is unsurprisingly Avengers Endgame. In the second weekend, it pulled in 145.8 million to gross domestically 619.7 million. These are estimates, by the way. The real figures will come sometimes later today, as I'm doing this podcast at around noon-ish, 12:30. The real actuals haven't come in yet. They'll be coming in available later this afternoon, maybe around 2ish or so. So I'm going by estimate figures. So after 2 weekends, Avengers Endgame has already grossed over $600 million domestically, and that's after 2 weekends. And worldwide, it has grossed 2.2 billion, with 1.6 billion of that from overseas. So yeah, I think there's something to this movie, right? And this is the culmination. Avengers Endgame is the culmination of all these separate storylines, right? That began with Iron Man. That started it all or something, I forget. And then, it went to the individual movies, Thor, Hulk, etc. Was it Hulk one of them? Probably not. I don't think they have an individual movie yet. That was the previous one before Marvel took over. So anyway, they have these all separate storylines accumulating in these Avengers movie. And then, Avengers, this is the Endgame is the 4th Avengers movie, and it ties up the story, all these separate stories together in Endgame, where Thanos, in the previous Avengers movie, Thanos Infinity War, Thanos pretty much kill half of the population off in the universe, and Endgame kind of superheroes, the remaining superheroes, band together and try to reverse course on this, right? So drop off is about 60%, 59.2 the estimates. We don't know the figure yet. I mean, it might be lower, right? These are estimates, and Disney might be a bit conservative in their take for this weekend. So 145.8 million might be a bit low, could be higher when the actual comes in. So 59.2% drop off from the previous week, which is high, but considering how high it opened to, right? It opened to 357 million, as I said in the previous podcast, which is a record. It broke record. This movie broke records left and right. Fastest to 1 billion, largest opening weekend, largest Friday, Saturday, Sunday, etc., etc. So this movie is huge, and rightly so, right? Reviews are pretty good for this movie. 95% on the tomato meter, A+ cinema score. So people are psyched for it, and judging by the huge opening numbers and huge second weekend, and there's still ways to go, because we don't know where this movie will end up, because already in the second weekend it already grossed over $600 million domestically, and we don't know if there's going to be repeated viewings, etc. We don't know if the third weekend's going to continue on. So it's going to be Avengers Endgame is going to be there for this foreseeable future in the coming weeks, right? It's still going to be one of the top movies at the box office. So that's Avengers Endgame, and let's move on to number 2, which is one of the new releases last weekend, and it is The Intruder. So The Intruder stars Michael Ealy, Megan Good, Dennis Quaid. Good and Ealy plays a couple, black couple who bought a house from Quaid, and he acts as he still owns the place, right? He sticks around, starts stalking the couple. Good's character especially, there's some, black and white dynamics, racist overtones in this movie, right? Or replace with racial tension, right? I said the movie could probably open up somewhere in the 8 to 10 million range, because recently there's these type of movies that's targeted toward the African American audience. It's sort of, like erotic thriller, sort of, home invasion movies. There are a couple of those at the box office that's targeted toward the African American audience, and that hit or miss recently. But they historically they tend to do pretty well. And I said 8 to 10 based on that, and this movie did a little bit better. It pulled in about 11 million in its opening frame, which is good, right? The movie only cost about 8 million to make. Reviews wise, it's not good. 27% on the tomato meter. So it doesn't seem like it broke out of the demographic. And I said, if it really broke out and if the demographic supported and it broke out, it would probably gross like 20 million plus in its opening weekend. So the Intruder did about where I had it, right? If a bit higher. But still, expect the second weekend to drop off, since people who want to watch a movie already caught it, and the second weekend, the drop off is gonna be huge. All right, number 3 is a long shot. It is the romantic comedy starring Seth Rogen and Charlize Theron. Theron plays the Secretary of State who's making a run for the presidency, and Seth Rogen's character is a journalist whose Theron's character used to babysit, and they encounter each other. They hit it off, and they hit it off, and so there's some Beauty and the Beast dynamic at play here. Theron's character, Secretary of State, very high class, and Rogen, this working man, guy. So from different class, so to speak, and their romance might be looked upon or be frowned upon because she's going for president, and it might not be good for her image if she fell in love with this guy, right? So there's that. I said the movie could probably pull in 8 to 10 again, and it hit about right there. It pulled in about 10 million in its opening weekend. I don't know the budget for this movie, what the budget for this movie is, but it's probably around 15 to 20 million. It could be, from the looks of it. Probably it doesn't cost that much, and let's see how it's gonna do in the second weekend. Reviews wise, it's good, 83% on the tomato meter, but a B cinema score. So you can see that critics liked it more than the audience who were polled. We'll see if this movie will, have legs in this second weekend. All right, moving on to number 4 is the other new release, Uglydolls. It's supposedly based on a line of plush toys. They made a movie out of this. I said the movie could probably open to 5 million in a weekend because I don't see this thing being that big, and it doesn't distinguish itself from the crowd. Animation is kind of like a tough genre to break in because of the Disneys, the Pixars, the Illumination Studios. They have standards, and Uglydolls doesn't seem to distinguish itself. Other than that, it's based on a brand name plush toy, and 5 million opening, and it did a little bit better, right? 8.5 million opening for Uglydolls, which is better than I expect this movie to open to. And we'll see how it goes. I don't see this movie having much legs at the theaters, and I don't see this being big overseas as well. It hasn't opened overseas yet, but I don't see this brand of toys making it big overseas because I don't think this brand is big overseas or known overseas. 8.5 million opening on a budget of 45. It's it's gonna have to make its money back on streaming home video. I don't see it doing anything at the box office. All right, number 5 is Captain Marvel, still going strong in its 9th weekend. It pulled in 4.3 million, about 49% drop off from the previous week, which is still pretty good, right? It has been in theaters for a while, and Now there is some tie in there, good positioning for Disney there, because Captain Marvel is the origin story of a character who's gonna play an outsized role in Avengers Endgame, right? If people who watch Endgame or might not be interested in Captain Marvel could catch up on her backstory in Captain Marvel. Right, and for those who caught Captain Marvel, want to watch her what she will do next in the next movie, hey, they can go and catch Avengers Endgame. So with this very good synergetic scheduled right there. So 421 million-ish domestically. It's still going strong, by the way. And then worldwide it is at 1.1 billion, with about 700 million of that from overseas. So it's doing quite well. Captain Marvel, another origin story that's doing extremely well, right? She's probably going to carry on to like the next phase. She's going to be one of these important characters that's in the next phase of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, right? She's introduced late in the game, and she's going to carry on. All right. Number 6 is the movie Breakthrough. It's a faith-based film. Surprisingly, it's holding up quite well. It pulled in about 4 million in its third weekend. It's based on a true story about a teenager who fell into a lake that was freezing cold. He's clinically dead for about 15 minutes, right? But he came back to life. And of course, people said it is through the grace of God or what have you that he came back, right? That this is a faith-based film because, through the power of belief, faith, etc., a miracle happened, and that's Breakthrough. So 3.4 million, and its third weekend drop-off is about 42%. Domestically, 33 million. Like the promo said, it is from the people who brought us Miracles from Heaven, and I said it's probably not going to do as well as Miracles from Heaven because Miracles from Heaven had higher or bigger star power. Jennifer Garner, Queen Latifah, Eugenio Derbez. This one has Topher Grace and a couple other minor characters. So for it to do as well as it did, it's kind of surprising to me, but it's not totally unexpected because we said with these faith-based films that we don't know which movies the fans will support of this genre will support, but if they do, they could probably make this into a runaway success, and I think this one is doing quite well for itself, and I don't think this movie cost that much to make. Alright, number 7 is the horror movie The Curse of La Llorona. It pulled in 3.5 million in its third weekend. Drop off is high for a horror movie, which is expected, right? About 57% from the previous week. Domestic gross 48 million. It's a horror movie that's produced by James Wan, not directed by him. It's directed by who is it directed by? Let me look it up for you, right? Michael Chavez, I believe that's how you pronounce it, Michael Chavez, who is slated to direct The Conjuring 3 and The Curse of La Llorona. Is kind of a warm-up for him to direct one of these mainline Conjuring movies. So, it's doing quite well because The Curse of La Llorona doesn't cost that much to make, about 9 million according to boxofficemojo to make, and it already grows 48 million domestically, right? So it's doing okay, and overseas it pulled in 56 million for a worldwide total of 104 million. So on a budget of 9 million, pretty good. Alright, number 8 is Shazam. It is the light-hearted Warner Brothers DC superhero movie. Pulled in 2.5 million in its fifth weekend, drop off about 56%. And domestically, it's at 135 million, but worldwide it pulled in 356 million with 220 million of that from overseas. The budget is 100 million, so it's still okay. Not for a character, Shazam, not that well known, right? He's not a Batman, he's not a Superman, nor Wonder Woman. He's not, one of the Justice League members. and this is a good introduction for him, right? For this character. I expect the second movie to do better, right? Reviews are good, 90%, A cinema score. So if they are going to release a sequel, the halo effect from this movie would affect the other one, right? The sequel. But it depends on what else is available then, right? If there's another poorly reviewed, poorly regarded DC superhero movie, it might affect the next Shazam movie, because the audience always look what have they seen last, and it affects the mood for or the appetite for one of these like DC superhero movies. So they haven't been getting any good press or buzz, except the recent ones, right? Like Aquaman did pretty well, Wonder Woman did pretty well, Shazam did pretty well, right? And I guess the common theme for those movies, and even Suicide Squad, right? The common theme for these movies is that they're not influenced or directed by Zack Snyder, right? So we'll see how it will go from there. I mean, obviously Warner Brothers and DC wants their superhero movies to do as well as what Disney and Marvel are doing, but they haven't gotten themselves together yet. Their plans have been haphazardly thrown together, and maybe with these, they're starting to find their legs. And who knows? And fans all benefit, right? Because we can see different takes on the superhero genre. So we'll see. Keep an eye on Shazam or more from Warner Brothers and DC. All right, 9 is Little. It's the body switching comedy, sort of, right? I'm not sure if she switched bodies or she's cursed to turn into a little one. But anyway, Little stars Regina Hall, who is in like the beginning and maybe the end as well, but most of the time it is the teenager Marsai Martin playing as the younger Regina Hall character. Hall's character plays a Korean woman who's hated by everybody. She has a chip on her shoulders, right? And like a kid cursed her to relive her life as a teen. In its fourth weekend, the movie pulled in 1.5 million. Drop off is about 58% from the previous week. Domestically, it grossed about 39 million, and the budget is 20 million. And worldwide it is 46. It grossed 46 million with 7.5 million from overseas. I said this movie could probably open to 25 to 30 million, because the trailer looks funny. Except that it opened at 15 and has an uphill climb from there. Reviews wise, a B+ cinema score and 45% on the tomato meter. So maybe not enough Regina Hall. I mean, that's the reviews there, right? Not enough Regina Hall could be why Little didn't do as well as it should have. All right, let's close out the top 10 with Dumbo. The movie pulled in 1.4 million in the sixth weekend. Drop off is about 59%, and domestically it grossed 109 million. It's going to cross 110 million, like probably today. And worldwide it is at 339 million with 229 of that from overseas. As you can tell from the domestic box office and the worldwide box office, the movie's not doing as well as it could have, right? Dumbo is kind of like one of these characters Disney has in store, but it's not that big. It's not like a huge brand money driver for Disney. Even their animated feature, right? It is one of these movies that's there, but it is not like Cinderella. It is not like Sleeping Beauty and like what's that swimming movie, Under the Sea, Ariel. I forget the title right now, but come to it. But anyway, it's not those big tentpoles for Disney. This is more, Dumbo is more like a character like Pete's Dragon, for example. Where at that level of interest, movie's budget is 170 million. And this movie is probably gonna have to make its money back, with the vault, home video. But hey, Disney might be happy with this performance. Like I said, it's not a huge character for Disney, but it's performing as such, right? But they have the Disney brand behind it. 339 million worldwide, but the budget is 170 million. All right, so that's it for the top 10. Let's move on to new releases this weekend. So we're gonna have about 4 wide releases that's gonna challenge Avengers Endgame for the top spot at the box office, but only one has a realistic chance of actually doing it, right? So we have The Hustle, which is kind of like a female take on Dirty Rotten Scoundrel, the movie. There is Poms, starring Diane Keaton. As she, in her old age, she wants to revive her dream, as a cheerleader. And then there is the, biopic Tolkien. That's based on J.R.R. Tolkien, the author, who did, the Lord of the Ring books. And then there is Pokemon Detective Pikachu. So this is the movie that's probably gonna take the top spot this weekend, depending on interest, right? So let's go with Pokemon Detective Pikachu. This is kind of like the live action CGI mix of the Pokemon franchise. In the game, it started off as a game where characters start off with a Pokemon, pocket monsters, where they can capture and train, level up, and battle other trainers, and they can trade these Pokemons. And this is the live action. There is actually a game that's titled Pokemon Detective Pikachu as well. So this is a game and a movie. So there's some cross promotion there. The movie's promoting the game's promoting the movie. And the response was kind of interesting, right? First, when the trailer comes out, then Pikachu started talking in Ryan Reynolds' voice. Pikachu don't speak. They don't speak Pikachu. They always go Pika Pika. Yeah. In the cartoon series, and suddenly it started talking in this deep male voice, kind of throw fans for a loop. But after time, I think the response is better, the reception is better for Detective Pikachu, especially when they saw the latest Sonic the Hedgehog trailer, right? Which has blowback from fans of that character. And they compared to Detective Pikachu, and hey, now fans of Pikachu, the Pokemon characters, saw something, and they think, hey, Detective Pikachu could be worse, right? So this movie is actually growing on people. I don't know. It's hard to judge one of these games that's form into a movie. Is hard to judge, right? People, fans of the game, might not necessarily want to watch a movie about it, right? Especially when it's kind of like different from what they know, right? Pikachu, doesn't speak. Yeah. So, but like I said, it's probably gonna be huge. It's a worldwide phenomenon. Pretty much every children knows what Pokemon is, right? It's about play the games, a best-selling video game series. People buy these games like title after title. But how big is it gonna be, right? I don't know. I mean, there are like generations of audiences. There are kids who play the game have grown up into adults, and their kids are playing the games now as well, and they probably haven't stopped. The people who played the games when they were younger, they probably, some are still playing the games. So there is that awareness there. So it's targeting the family audience, right? Obviously. So I think conservatively, I'm gonna say this movie is probably gonna open to 50 million, right? I don't have a good sense of what this movie will go open to, because it is kind of new. Like I said, I don't know if fans would necessarily want to watch a movie, right? But hey, 50 million is a good safe choice, right? I could see it opening higher than 50 million. And also I can see it opening lower, so I'm gonna take the middle ground. So 50 million for Pokemon Detective Pikachu. All right, up next is The Hustle. This movie stars Anne Hathaway and Rebel Wilson. They star as a pair of scam artists, who's trying to con rich old men, out of their money, right, and others, jewelry, etc. And it is described as the female remake of Dirty Rotten Scoundrel, right? There's also a hint of Ocean's 8 in there as well, because hey, Anne Hathaway was in this movie, and that movie is about swindling as well, tricking wealthy people to part with their valuables. The Hustle, and then add in Rebel Wilson as the comic relief. I think this movie has potential. Anne Hathaway, Rebel Wilson, I'm not sure if they're that big of a draw outside of their core genre, which is comedy and romantic comedy. There's some drama in there as well. This one is totally comedy, right? Which is that's where Rebel Wilson comes in. Has potential, like I said. So I see The Hustle could probably open to 15 to 20 million this weekend. Up next is Poms, about Pom Pom. Stars Diana Keaton, whose character moved in a retirement community, and she met people there, friends there, and they encouraged her to take up cheerleading. It was a dream of hers. She had to give it up when she was a teenager, and now her character is, if you've seen the trailer, this is not a spoiler, right? Her character is dying, right? And she's kind of living her dreams in her remaining time. And other people at the retirement home, got into the gig, and it is about living your life. This movie at its core is about living your life. Cherish your time, cherish friends, because you never know, if they're there or not, right? As time moves on. So it's targeted toward the adult crowd, the mature audience, for this type of movies, right? For the older group, for seniors, right? And the subject matter hits close to home, right? And Diane Keaton's previous comedy, Book Club, pulled in or opened to 13.5 million, went on to make 68.6 million domestically. So there is an audience for these more mature type of movies for the older crowd, right? Audience, and it could do well. And I think this one has the same potential as Book Club as well, because it is talk about a subject matter that's kind of close to home for these people. But it's kind of down as well, but it is an uplifting message for Poms. So I could see it opening about 10 million because of the rest of the movies in theaters. All right, finally we have Tolkien, depends on how you want to pronounce it. It is a biopic released by Fox Searchlight about the life and times of J.R.R. Tolkien. I'm going with Tolkien, right? And it explores the formative years of the author. As he went to war, his friendship with various people in school, on the battlefield, how these experiences shaped his life, and how that experience went into his books, especially the Lord of the Ring books and the Hobbit, etc. Right? So this movie stars Nicholas Hoult as the title character, Lily Collins as his love interest. But Hoult is not that big of a draw, and a biopic about Tolkien, I don't know. I mean, people want to watch a movie about this author, maybe not, but the fact that Fox Searchlight is releasing it, it's not nothing, right? This is an awards play. It's one of these movies that it's a drama. If it does well, great. If not, then so it's okay too, right? So I don't see this movie has that big of an audience, but or in the opening weekend, but it could pull in an audience over time, meaning that people don't usually turn out opening weekend for this movie, but it could, stay in theaters week after week and make us money there. Like one of these, specialty movies, right? Which this movie is. So, with that said, it's gonna be a crowded theater. Avengers Endgame, Detective Pikachu, and others, right? There's not gonna be left a lot of room for a movie like Tolkien, unless it's playing in these specialty theaters. So opening of 3 to 5 million for Tolkien. All right, that's it for this week's podcast. Tune in next week to see how I did. Until then, take care. Bye bye.